Prologue, 1985. The rabbit's vacant eyes fixed on Justin, hand tightening in his mother's grip. The boy recoiled. Ahead of them, the line surged forward with one rippling centipede step. "Say cheese," urged the photographer. Justin stared up at his mother. She smiled as she continued rattling off relatives deserving of a photographic print that Easter. While the camera snapped and immortalized another child, she said, "Oh, and Aunt Bernadette. We can't forget her. She tapped her chin. "Maybe we should sign up for that package they offer." "Mom, your father was annoyed at me when I brought it home last year, but what good is just one photograph anyway?" "Mom, I mean, the copies your father made of your Christmas photos were so crummy and—" "Mom!" Justin's mother finally glanced down at him. Her big, slightly wet eyes batted with a single mascara-spiked blink. "Yes, sweetie?" "Mom," he said, "I don't really want to do this." "Oh, honey." Laughing, squeezing his hand, Justin's mom stepped forward in line and forced him to shuffle up alongside her. "There's no reason to be nervous. The rabbit is staring at me." A slight furrow touched her brow. Justin recognized it from when he recounted a nightmare or tried to get her to believe that sometimes the shadows moved in his bedroom at night. Now she looked over at the rabbit, whose dusky pink fur brightened under the brilliant illumination of a flashbulb. Justin couldn't stand to look with her. He avidly studied the blue toes of his sneakers while his mother said in a merry way, "Now, I think he's cute. Come on, Justin. You used to love getting your picture taken with the Easter Bunny. What happened?" What happened? Maybe that was a better question for the mall. Justin tried to remember what had happened, what it had been like on previous occasions when his mother had forced him to undergo this strange holiday ritual. His naive memory, the bunny was so bright and innocent. Had it always looked this way? Had it always had such huge black pits for eyes? Had its fur always been such a sickly, faded hue? Had its head turned a little more all the time to keep its empty eyes fixed on Justin? "I just don't want to do this," Justin said, looking frantically toward the throng of people flowing through the vast halls of the Erie Mall. Amid the sheer scale of the architecture and the conversations of the shoppers and the shrieks of happier children and the photographer's constant recitation of the mantra, "Next," the too cheerful melody of Peter Cottontail was almost entirely drowned. Almost. "Honey, there's nothing to be afraid of." "I'm not afraid," Justin lied reflexively, no more able to confess to fear than was any other boy his age. "I just don't want to. It's babyish." "But you're my baby." "I'm 8, he corrected her tersely, counting the number of people ahead of them. 4 people. 4 families with 4 kids. That was still enough time to change his mother's mind. "Look, all these kids are little. That boy back there looks older than you." Seeing his posture was no more agreeable than it had been before, his mother frowned and released his hand. Justin's first impulse was to run, but then she would know he was afraid. And anyway, he was being ridiculous. Here he was complaining about babies when he was acting like a baby. Justin turned this paradox over as much as his young mind would allow, while his mother laid on a guilt trip second to none. "You're growing up so fast, Justin," she said, staring earnestly into his eyes. "It's so special to see you grow every day into a wonderful, smart, funny young man. But it's a little sad, too." The camera's shutter snapped. Its flash bulb cracked like lightning. Everything was illuminated but the rabbit's black eyes. "I know you're ready to be an adult as soon as possible," his mother summarized. Justin forced himself to focus on her. "But you'll only be a kid once, and the opportunities to see you being a kid, they're getting fewer and fewer." "Next." Justin glanced again toward the crowd of freer shoppers while his oblivious mother said, "I want to seize these moments while I still can. I want to be able to look back one day and say that nothing was wasted, that I took every opportunity I could to be present in your childhood while it was happening. Maybe you'll only understand what I mean when you're older, but... Her eyes glassed with tears. Justin exhaled in a mingling of emotions, sorrow of his own, plus an indefinable background emotion that was something close to frustration. Frustration and, yes, maybe fear. Peter Cottontail was louder near the gazebo, where the rabbit posed for photos, as a girl a couple years younger than Justin perched upon its knee and smiled up into its soulless face. Justin wondered what it was that made it so easy for other kids to do this. Maybe he really was scared, just a big scaredy cat. And because Justin was a big scaredy cat, his mother was upset. He had to be brave for his mother. "No, Mom," said Justin, puffing out his chest and shifting back his shoulders. "I'll do it." The tears disappeared at once. Her face expanded into a radiant smile that filled Justin with relief as much as with pride. Another emotional crisis averted. "Thank you so much, sweetie. Don't worry. I won't make you do anything like this next year if you really don't want to. Just, let's have this one last picture, okay?" "Okay. Okay." The father and son ahead of them whispered to one another while the photograph snapped the current subject. Justin was a close study of the natural way the girl hugged the bunny, then slid off its knee and bounced to her waiting mother. "Next!" The line surged forward. Without warning, the father and son ahead of them left the line. Justin balked, his palms wet with sweat, as he wiped them off on his denim shorts and then, finding that insufficient, on the neon yellow fabric of his t-shirt, his mother watched the other two go and said in a soft murmur, "See? You're not the only nervous one." "I'm not," Justin muttered at the scuffled floor while the next photo was posed. "Not nervous." "Of course not, honey," said his mother with a fond smile and a ruffle of his black hair. While he reached up with a frown and fixed what she'd mused, she made a noise of delight to see the bulb go off. "Here we go. It'll all be over soon, sweetie. Just grin and bear it. Maybe the Easter Bunny will leave some extra chocolates in your basket since he saw you in person." This Easter Bunny come to his house while he slept? Justin's blood ran cold. The child upon its knee bounced to their parent, Justin's hands clenched in his fists at his sides. Somebody said something he didn't hear while he fortified his nerves. "Honey," his mother said. "Next," the photographer repeated. Justin came back to Earth to find the man staring daggers at him. The rabbit stared, too. The hollows of its socket-like eyes seemed to somehow grow larger. Suddenly, Justin found his legs no longer worked. "Come on, kid. Look at that line. We don't have all day." "Go on, honey." His mother's manicured hands fit to his slim shoulders. She squeezed a bit, pushing him until he stumbled forward. His other leg caught up with him, and he made himself progress another step. Another. "Go on," said the photographer under his breath when Justin was close enough to hear. "Get your ass up there." Justin took a deep breath. The empty-eyed rabbit sat upon a white wicker throne, the gazebo around it like some perverse cage. Justin couldn't explain why he hated the flat blue backdrop effect, but it made him think of the science fiction stories his father read to him sometimes. It was like the rabbit existed in another dimension, like it and its chair were on the other side of a doorway to a place Justin didn't want to know about. "Don't keep the nice man waiting, sweetie," his mother implored, the slightly nervous tone piquing her voice. Exhaling, Justin climbed the short set of stairs to the platform where the Easter Bunny waited for him. The reek made him stop short again. Justin's breath hitched. He stared into the soulless face of the Easter Bunny and remembered the time when he and his mother were at the drugstore. A homeless man had come in to pay for cigarettes in loose change and crumpled dollars, and Justin had been surprised at the time by the intensity of the smell. Then it had made him sad. Now it made him afraid. The sin of a hard life and poverty became the stench of rank death when it exuded from the Easter Bunny's patchy fur. It made Justin drop from his mind all childish pretense. Suddenly, it was evident that this was not the Easter Bunny. This was a person in a costume, a grown man in a bunny costume with lifeless, hateful eyes. A man who breathed heavily as Justin forced himself to slowly perch upon the edge of the rabbit's threadbare knee. The breath was all Justin could hear. Peter Cottontail faded into the background. So did the sound of the mall's clamor and the frantic timpani of his own heart. So did the photographer's command, "Smile, kid!" All Justin could hear was the breath, the heaving, somehow ragged breath, as though the man in the rabbit costume were trying to keep himself from breathing too heavily. But there it was all the same, the breaths, the in and out of a lion behind the glass of a zoo. The rabbit's hand came to rest upon Justin's shoulder. By the time the flash of the camera resolved, Justin's leap had landed him at the base of the gazebo stairs. As soon as his feet were on the floor, he bolted, unaware of the photographer's profanity or his mother's cry. He was only aware of the intense animal pressure to get away, get far away. The rabbit's hand seemed to lay heavily upon his shoulder, and the odor pursued him like a shadow. Fists pumping, Justin ducked between shoppers and cut through families. He ran and ran, his heart pounding against his ribs as though it were about to burst. No matter where he looked, no place was safe. If he hid in a store, his mother would find him and admonish him for not taking the picture. She might even march him back and make him take a better one. That really would have been awful. Justin never wanted to see that rabbit again. No, no way. He had to find a place to hide and figure out how to talk her into taking him straight home. Maybe, when the coast was clear, he could call his father and ask him to put his foot down on Justin's behalf. Yeah, that was it. That was it. He'd wait until things were calm and call Dad, and Dad would make it right. At last, Justin saw it, the one safe place, a picture booth whose star-dotted curtain was not just chained but barred with the flap of an out-of-order sign. Relief flooding him, Justin flipped the sign up, ducked under the chain, then let the barrier fall back into place behind him while he closed the curtain and caught his breath in the vinyl seat. "Justin! Justin!" With surprising haste, his mother's shrill voice cut through the busy noises of the mall. Justin held his breath, fear racing through him to realize that what he'd just done. She must have been chasing him. Now she was going to be really mad. "Justin!" The urgency of her voice rose even higher when she repeated his name a little farther down the hall. Her voice near enough to the food court that he knew she had missed him. Justin shut his eyes in relief. "Justin! Justin! Where are you?" He wanted to go out to her, of course, but more than that, he wanted her to be reasonable. And, well, if he went out now, she'd be anything but reasonable. Yes, he'd have to call his dad just as soon as his mother was well out of earshot. He'd find a payphone, call collect, and that'd be that. Dad would talk to Mom, Mom would calm down, and Justin wouldn't be in trouble. He'd be understood. His parents would understand that it wasn't fear to be averse to something evil. It was just human nature.